This is Prifddinas, my Xtreme one-chunk Iron Man, a game mode where I lock myself to a tiny area of the map until I complete its highest skilling challenges, get all best in slot gear, and get everything in the collection log. After completing Song of the Elves at the lowest level I could, I locked myself here in Prifddinas, and with over 60 tasks to complete, I'm going to be here for over 2,000 hours. Many of these grinds will take me multiple hundreds of hours on their own, so I need to get the best items possible, and one in particular will save me over 100 hours. Move over Bofa, because a rune axe is the best item in Prifddinas, and will drastically speed up the 120,000 logs I need to cut before I can leave. The only way I can get a rune axe is to smith it myself. There are a few good options of how to get smithing supplies in Prifddinas, and currently the most efficient is Zalcano, so that's where I'm starting off. Part of the efficiency of killing Zalcano is that I can work on multiple tasks at the same time. I need to complete the collection log, but as all the uniques are kind of useless to me, the real reward are the smithing supplies from her normal drop table. And also, I get small amounts of mything, smining and runecrafting XP along the way, which will probably add up significantly by the end of this grind. I'm not yet sure if this is my best smithing XP per hour, but until I complete the collection log, that doesn't really matter. Like other skilling bosses, there isn't too much to Zalcano. You mine some rocks, you smith and runecraft them into some ammo, and then throw that at Zalcano, and then you mine her. It's not really a boss made to challenge you, rather you just hang out. I've been told that the way to go for smithing XP is small teams, so that's what I've done, especially after the trauma of the terrible loot from masses. Nice, onyx bolt tips. Onyx bolt tip. There's no need for an S there. And it's already paying off. 210 gold ore from the first full kill, worth nearly 5k smithing XP. Without goldsmithing gauntlets, smelting gold ore is pretty bad XP, but I have to be here and I'll take everything I can get. I'm just hoping that the teams don't mind that I'm turning up here with a rune pickaxe and nothing else. It's not like there are that many huge upgrades for Zalcano, but there are a few that are very easy to get. For example, Baroque armor is amazing here, and there's basically no excuse for not having it, unless you impose stupid restrictions on how you play. So far, no one's said anything, so either they don't mind, or they're bots. There are a lot of bots at Zalcano. Small Team Zalcano is a very different experience to the Mass Worlds. In the Mass Worlds, you desperately scramble to do enough damage before the fight is over, and sometimes you roll low and see this dreaded text. But it's about 1 kill a minute, so you get over it pretty quickly. For small teams, it's much more relaxed. You get to mine a few more rocks, and you have to destroy her shield a few times before you finish her off. You can sometimes even have a nice chat with the other players, if you are lucky enough to find real people. But you do have to find a team, and although there's a friends chat which works most of the time, it's a lot more work than just turning up to the Mass Worlds and getting right into the action. And a fun side effect of this boss is that I'm quickly racking up the runecraft levels. Level 9 now. Before I started Zalcano, I wasn't sure how this was going to work at level 1 without rune mysteries complete, but the levels keep on coming, and these levels should help me out quite a lot in Zalcano, as the damage I do to her shield scales off both my runecraft level and my smithing level. So every 14 levels in either skill gets me another max hit, and it's way easier to get runecraft levels right now. I managed to get the last combat achievement for dealing the most damage to Zalcano, but I didn't get the MVP? I guess it's an aptly named combat achievement. Now, you do take damage in Zalcano if you either get hit by a falling rock, or stand in a red circle, or stand next to one of these when they explode, as well as some random chip damage that you can't avoid. But if I'm paying attention, the damage isn't a problem. What is a problem is the run energy situation. I did all of these kills before the run energy changes earlier this year, and with each kill, my run energy drains just a little bit. Most people bring staminas to help with this, and it's not a problem. But I have a much worse method of restoring run energy. Death. I respawn nearby, run back, and if I die at the start of a kill, I can get back for the end of it. I have been back since the changes to run energy, and it's just not a problem anymore, which is obviously a great change, but I do enjoy the silly little things you have to do as a chunker, so I'm almost a little bit sad. Almost. I still can't quite believe the loot here. 235 steel bars is so good, and my inventory is stacked with other great smithing supplies. I think it's time to convert these supplies into actual smithing XP, and check out the anvil and furnace I have here to show you just how good I have it. It's the closest anvil to the bank in the game, and the furnace is second closest, only one tile further away than the Shiloh village furnace. You don't normally get them together. Smelting the bars and then smithing them without even moving, let alone banking, is such a luxury for those of us that can't get to the blast furnace. So I'm currently set up pretty well for my 86 smithing grind, and then the eventual 99 grind I need to do before I leave. And there is 72 smithing, the first of many, giving me the smithing level to make crystal legs, my first piece of crystal armor, although I still need the crafting level to make them and the defense level to wear them. So I'm going to have to wait quite a while before I can actually get them. And although the supplies I get from Zalcano are great, there's one little problem. I'm just not getting enough coal to smelt all of the ores. So I want to check out the other options I have to try and bolster the coal supplies. So it's time to head into the Treyhan mines. This mine is so good. If I didn't have so much Zalcano to do, this would be a great way to get all of the ores that I need. And I expect I'll still spend a lot of time down here. It has all the ores from iron upwards and a lot of coal rocks. And there's even these unique soft clay rocks, which could be a good way of training some construction, but probably not. Every rock has a 1 in 65 chance of dropping a crystal shard in addition to the ores, and most importantly, there is this deposit box inside the mine, so no running to the bank to deposit ores. So let's talk about my favourite spots in the mine. This iron power mining spot next to the deposit box is great. I can bank a huge amount of iron ore, but smithing with iron ore on its own is kind of terrible because the smelting has a 50% success rate. You can get it up to 100% with rings of forging, but my only source of rings of forging is birds' nests, so it's really not sustainable. The other option is superheating the ores as I mine them, and this method I like. It essentially makes the smelting 0 time, as I can do it between mining the iron ore, solving half the issues with smithing, as the smelting is really slow and terrible XP an hour. However, 1 nature rune per iron bar makes this pretty expensive, at around 5 GP per XP, but as Zalcano and CG both drop nature runes, I think I'll be able to afford to do this for a bit of a boost to the smithing XP. And I really like doing this on mobile. It's got a nice rhythm that goes well with clicking with your thumbs. I'm still planning to get most of my smithing XP from Zalcano, but it's quite annoying to do on mobile, so this will be good to do in my downtime. I'll probably ignore all of the higher level ores, as Zalcano will give me more than I can ever need. But the coal here has some potential. There are 19 rocks in total, and there's even these 3 that you can reach without moving. It's not really ideal, as they take such a long time to respawn, but it's an okay place to AFK. There are always enough rocks in the room that you can do a little lap around and always be mining, but it's still very slow. Probably not a great use of my time. Currently, I only have a 30% chance to mine coal, but if I make use of tick manipulation, then I can double this chance and also start the skilling action while I run between rocks. Why does this double the chance when you move to a new rock? I don't know, the game's just really janky, but it should make this much faster. Currently, I can only tick manipulate with a normal log, which is not recommended as it takes 4 ticks rather than 3, and an extra click because it brings up this menu. So I think I should take a quick detour to get some fletching levels so I can use a teak log and make this much better. You may be thinking, this is really stupid. Why fletch before getting the rune axe? Well, the only logs I can fletch to train to level 46 are basic logs, and my chance of chopping a tree is 100% with anything better than an iron axe, so it doesn't really matter what I do. I don't want to just make longbows. It's probably the fastest overall, but requires a lot of dropping items, and I really want to mix up the intensity of methods I'm doing, so I have something to do no matter the amount of attention that I can currently give the game. That being said, I did want to go back and test the chickens again, now on my 3rd attempt to try and make these work. This time I can do some fletching in the downtime between respawns, but there are 2 issues. I can get more XP per feather with better methods in the future, and it's still really intensive, and I should be doing Zalcano if I want an intensive method. So I found the in-between of these two. Javelins. Completely useless to me, but so are low-level arrows. And I found a spot I quite liked where you can do a loop and cut down the trees, and by the time I've fletched them into javelin shafts, they have respawned and I can start again. I did this until I got to 17 fletching, and then I started smithing javelin heads and attaching them to the shafts. Because it takes forever to smith items that only use one bar, this was nice and AFK and works on both of my goals at the same time. So I made around 5,000 iron javelins, and I'm clearly not proud of it, as this is the clip I recorded for 30 fletching. And then I moved on to make 7,000 steel javelins until I got to 46 fletching, the level where I can finally fletch teak logs and leave all this other nonsense behind. But first, some useless javelin facts for you. I found this bug while fletching javelins. There's just no animation. You stand there, regretting your choices while they make themselves. I've tested this on high level javelins too. No animation. Javelins can only be fired from a light or heavy ballista, requiring at least 65 range to use, as they removed the ability to equip them in 2016. And I couldn't find a single clip of anyone throwing a javelin back then. And this really brings into question what the point of a bronze javelin is, as by the time you can equip a ballista, you can use any javelin you like, so I've got no idea why you would choose to use bronze. You can only make javelin shafts from regular logs, never more than 15 at a time, I guess to make the process as painful as possible. Also, they go down significantly in value if you turn the javelin heads into javelins. It feels like Jagex really don't want you to make javelins, and are doing everything they can to stop people making them, but I'm glad it was an option for me. I now have everything I need to mine coal as efficiently as possible. It's still kind of slow, but it will really help to use all of the supplies I get from Zalcano, and although it's slower than superheating iron, this will make me a decent profit that I may need if I'm going to get 99 construction at some point. Back to Zalcano now, and it's time to have a bit of fun and test out some other ways of killing Zalcano that could potentially be game-changing. The first of these experiments is based on a change they made last year where you can toggle between resource rewards and experience rewards. Maybe I can quickly boost up my mining level, and that will get me better rewards in the future. 5k XP per kill? Nah, there's no way this is worth it when that could have been hundreds of bars. The resources are going back on. My next plan is solo kills. Let's see if I can get all the rewards to myself. The wiki tells me I can get nearly 700 bars per kill at maximum contribution, and that would be really good. My first attempt at this didn't go so well, and here's the problem with solo Zalcano. It takes forever, and 99% of the time it's very easy, but you want to stop concentrating. And I was doing everything right here, but I was on autopilot, and when I moved from one rock, I didn't see the other one right next to it, and that means 15 minutes completely wasted. But I do want that solo kill. So here is the end of my 40-minute Zalcano solo. Can I get 700 steel bars? No. More onyx bolt tips. I feel like Zalcano is just mocking me now. One day, that's going to be a nice 320 fletching XP. And it wasn't even the maximum reward. I could have got 45. How am I supposed to get more contribution than a solo kill? And 34 is only 75% of 45? So somehow I could have got 25% higher contribution? Here I am trying to break Zalcano, and instead Zalcano is breaking me. I'm back in for my next experiment. This time, I'm not going to kill Zalcano at all. Rewards are overrated. I'm going to try and get the maximum XP from the mining, smithing, and runecrafting without interacting with Zalcano at all. And it turns out that's around 20k mining, 9k smithing, and 4k runecrafting. I did want to skip the runecrafting step and just try for more smithing, but there is no drop option, so it's just quicker to runecraft them into a stackable item. The only upside to this is it's my best runecrafting training. 5k an hour is not even close to a reasonable rate, but it's also not nothing. The smithing XP, however, is worse than the XP from superheating iron ore. And with superheat, I can bank the iron bars and use them later to get 100,000 XP an hour. So that's 3 attempts at alternative Zalcano methods and 3 complete failures, but I had to try. Now, there is one more idea I had. Kill the boss with a team and have everyone else just leave before the kill. like what Josh Isn't Gaming did to break the fishing trawler. This doesn't get me all the contribution like a solo kill would, just the MVP, which gets me 10% bonus loot and some infernal ashes. If this works, then it would technically be the best way to do Zalcano and my best prayer trading method, but it requires the help of a team who get nothing at all. And Jagex clearly thought of this, as last year they made this change where players can no longer boost another player's unique drop rate by leaving the fight early. But just boosting the resource drops is pretty good for me, so I grabbed a few friends to see if this would work. And it did. I got the least deserved MVP ever. But even with everyone in voice chat and only doing one kill, it was still a logistical nightmare. So 4 methods tested, 3 are outright bad, and the last is ethically questionable. I think I'm just going to have to accept my fate and do Zalcano the regular way. Now I may have bent the truth a little when I said that smithing was the only way to get a rune axe in Prifddinas, because there are actually 2 monsters that drop them. But there is a slight problem, and you can see here you need a higher Slayer level to know how to wound this monster. Kurasks here require 70 Slayer to kill, and also leaf-bladed weapons, which I can't get either. And the other is Greater Necrials. These have the same problem, but 80 Slayer this time. And my only way to train Slayer is with lamps. So to get to level 80, it's almost 3,000 lamps. Honestly, it's a lot lower than I expected, but still unobtainable. Hence why I'm training smithing instead. But it does bring up the question of what should I lamp? Slayer is basically the only skill I can't train, and the nearest Slayer master is Neve, and is technically only 5 chunks away, but that could take me years to get to, and even when I do, I'll probably get a monster I can't kill and be locked out of Slayer forever. So if I ever want to kill any Slayer monsters, then I need to start lamping it. And here is level 2. 200 KC at Zalcano, and I've managed to get up to 75 smithing. It may sound like good progress, but I think I'm only about 15% of the way to 86 smithing, and like 3% of the way to 99, so I've still got a lot more to do. Now I've done a good chunk of Zalcano in what I think is the most efficient way. I want to test out the mass worlds again, and see how it compares. What the fuck is happening? How did I just get that in a mass world? Completely insane. I was not expecting this. I was just like having a look to see what the rates were like. Yeah, I don't know. Well, that ruins my plans a little bit. So let's talk about the Zalcano uniques. The crystal tool seed that I just got is a 1 in 200 drop from each Zalcano kill. Then it's rolled among the team that killed her, so it's more like 1 in 200 times the number of players. So let's go back and review the footage, and I count 14 players at least. So it's more like 1 in 2,800. Hence why I'm so shocked it dropped. Because of this drop mechanic, I was expecting to get it in small teams, and it should have taken about 60 hours to get 1 tool seed. But with another huge spoon under my belt, I should focus on the other 2 uniques that I need, the pet and the Zalcano shard. Both are much faster to get in the mass worlds, as they drop for each individual rather than the team. So that means from now on, I'm just going to be doing mass Zalcano until I can get the shard and the pet. Then I can work out what the most efficient method is to get to 99 afterwards. Mostly because it would suck to still be trying to get the pet once I get to 99 smithing. I'm not sure I could handle that. Time to settle into the grind and just get on with it. "40 runecrafting from just Zalcano, a very silly milestone. Once I get out of Prif, these levels are either going to be a blessing or a curse, but there's just no way to tell until I roll a runecrafting task. And while I'm out of montage mode, the luck on this account is off the charts. An enhanced crystal weapon seed at 148 KC, a stale baguette, and now 2 tool seeds from the mass worlds. Unfortunately, it isn't actually useful to me, as you combine them with dragon tools, and the closest dragon tool to me is a long way away. So for now, they'll just sit in the bank and let me do the most important thing, ticking off tasks on the chunk picker. Now, I could trade it to Amrod for 100 crystal shards, but things are going to have to get pretty desperate before I start doing that. And there's still a lot of Zalcano to do. Ooh. Yes. Yes. That's the good one to get. Now I don't have to deal with the bullshit of waiting for a Zalcano shard. Oh, that's so good. So good. Oh, just the pet now. I should probably explain that reaction a little bit. The 2 items I still need are pretty pointless, but pets are cool, and the Zalcano shard is a cosmetic upgrade for an item I will never get. So even though the pet is a bit rarer, it's much more fun to be grinding for something I actually want. Back to montage mode. 82 smithing, the level I need to smith my best in slot ranged weapon, the bow of Prifddinas. I only have 2 of the 4 requirements to make and equip one, so I don't think I'll be making one anytime soon. And I was going to do a little rant about how bad smithing currently is, and the cool gameplay of mining ore and then smithing it isn't really worth doing, and that 99 smithing for tier 40 equipment doesn't really make sense, but you probably all know that, and I'll leave it for when I make my 99 smithing episode. Instead, I want to talk about a recent Jagex win for smithing, and how the BOFA requirements are almost good. Because I love smithing in games, I always try and make it work, and it ends up being a complete waste of my time. The win I'm talking about is oath plate crafting. It takes multiple drops from a boss, and has a quite involved mining and smithing process to make some end game armor. It takes time, there's multiple steps, and you end up with something epic. And to me, this is exactly how smithing should work at the end game. The zombie axe is another item that I think works really well. In both cases, if you get the items, you can either smith them, or you can skip the smithing and get another player to do it for you, because it's an MMO. And crystal items almost do that. You get the drops from a boss, and then you craft them into some of the best items in the game. Except you can skip this entirely, and pay an NPC to make them for you. I hate this so much. If you want to skip a grind in an MMO, you should have to work with other players. Jagex has done this a few other times recently, and I really hope they stop. Anyway, Oath Plate and Zombie Axe are great, and even if they don't fix smithing's other issues, I hope we get more things like it. Now, it's time to finish this Zalcano grind. $3,250 may seem like a strange stopping point, but I think I roughly have enough bank supplies for level 86 smithing, and I've managed to sneak my way into the top 100 on the Iron Man leaderboards, and almost top 1000 on the main leaderboards. I have since fallen out of the top 100 since recording this clip, but I will be back to regain it later, as 86 is only a little over 25% of the way to 99, and to be honest, the front page of the high scores is looking like an achievable goal. Sadly, I do not have the pet yet. My current log looks like this, and I am 2 out of 3 of the drops that I need. As I explained in a previous episode, the Onyx is a meme grind that would take me over 5,000 hours of efficient Zalcano to get, but it would be nice to spoon one. And let's have a look at the supplies I have left in the bank. I'm currently most of the way through 84 smithing, and I have saved up 16,000 iron bars from Superheating on mobile, and that should get me most of the way to 86. You may be wondering how long it took to do these 3,250 Zalcano, that mostly condensed into a 10-second montage. Well, you can do about 50 Zalcano an hour on the mass worlds, and around 13 in small teams, so it probably took me around 80 hours to do all this. Not too bad, all things considered. I haven't shown many lamping clips, but these two are important. Firstly, here's 8 Slayer. But I was thinking about my chunk goals, and I took a closer look at my herblore grind. 72 seemed fine. I crunched the numbers, and there are only 3 monsters in Prif that drop herbs. moss giants that give roughly 2 herblore XP per kill, water fiends that will get me 3.5 herblore XP per kill, and elves, which will give me almost 6 XP per kill. That's not a lot. Also, there may be something I can do in the gauntlet, but there's no chance that that is a good training method. To get to level 72, I need 121,000 XP, so at least 20,000 elf kills. And we were supposed to be friends. And once I leave Prif, there are terrifying herblore grinds in every direction. So here is my first lamp on herblore, and where all lamps are going until I find a good training method. With these last iron plate bodies, I'm going to get my last big level of the video, 86 smithing. So I can now finally make a rune axe. The best axe that I can get for a very long time. And it is going to save me a lot of time when I have to cut over 50,000 yew logs, get 84,000 mahogany planks, and then whatever I need for fire making. I have a lot of woodcutting in my near future, but this will probably be the last smithing I do for quite a long time. Because I get crystal shards from almost everything I do here, and then being worth smithing XP, it makes sense for me to finish the other long grinds before I get 99 smithing. It's just a shame that I still need that pet. On to woodcutting, and although I'm missing a lot of low tier trees, I do have a pretty good setup here in Prif. The friendly forester is right here, and although it comes with a lot of collection logs I need to unlock, they are massively overshadowed by the other woodcutting grinds, so I'd have to be the unluckiest player in the world to not get these before I'm done. And unfortunately, I won't be able to get some of the better forestry items because I can't get all of the logs you need to buy them. On top of this, I have 3 really good areas for woodcutting. There are the mahogany and teak trees right here next to the sawmill, magic trees for when I get to 75 woodcutting, and the main event, these yew trees, right next to the bank and a forestry hotspot, so I can always get the full level boost. Currently, the plan is to camp out here in my AFK time until I have enough logs to finish my fletching grind. Then there are all the forestry events, and I cannot understate how good these are for me. Many of the events will boost up my XP in skills that are hard to train, but that's not why they are so good. It's because of the anima bark. I can trade 15 anima bark for a sawmill voucher. The voucher can be redeemed for an extra plank per log at the sawmill, making it essentially worth 1 mahogany log and 1500 GP, reducing the time I spend cutting trees and grinding cash for the construction grind. How good these are really depends on how dry I go at CG and how much money I end up with. But even if I don't need the money, cutting half as many mahogany trees is pretty good on its own. And the events are pretty good too. The poacher's event drops the fox whistle, which will transform the beaver into a fox. And I don't know the exact numbers, and it's not a chunk task, but this seems like the most likely skilling pet for me to get. It also gives Hunter XP, and there was some part of me that hoped this would be good enough Hunter XP to grind towards Crystal Implings while I'm here, but I think it'll be pretty clear why this is not considered a primary training method when I finish the chunk and I'm only 72 Hunter. Still, it may save me a few hours in Piro when I get there. The Pheasant Control event should save me a little time from my thieving grind, and it drops the golden pheasant egg, which will turn the beaver into a pheasant this time. And finally, it gives pheasant feathers, which I need a few of to make the pheasant outfit, but mostly could be traded for more anima bark. The beehive event gives beehive parts, which can be used to make a beehive in my playground house, but can also be traded in for more anima bark. It also gives construction XP, without all the hassle of making planks. I do wish it gave a little more XP per log, but it's still great. The leprechaun is mostly just anima bark, but the bank deposit box is very helpful when I'm cutting teak or mahogany trees. The flowering tree. Now, I wish I could skip these, as they're really annoying. It drops seeds that I mostly don't care about, but one day could be good. Also, it drops strange fruit. Normally not a highly desirable item, but it cures venom and poison, and with Zora on my doorstep, I'm worried that I'll need as many of these as I can get. The struggling sapling gives some farming XP and some leaves. This one I can skip if I'm not in the mood, or if it wants me to run around way too much. Rising roots. 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 Loads of anima. What's not to love? Definitely cutting that. The friendly entling gives fletching XP, which is nice to get, and the bird's nest are good for the eventual herblore XP, although thankfully not in Prif. And the eggs are kind of pointless, except it's nice to dream about one day getting to the woodcutting guild. And finally, the enchantment ritual. It has another collection log item. This one can't be bought, but I'm just so unlikely not to get this by the time I'm done. So really, it just gives anima. And the forestry is treating me well. The fox whistle already, and this just means that any extras I can trade for another 250 anima bark. This guy buys them for 250 and sells them for 75,000. Some racket this so-called friendly forester is running. Why does this always happen? I hadn't set up my recorder properly for the day, and I got the petal garland. I am super happy to get 2 out of 3 of the random forestry items out of the way, but my god, it would have been so much better if I had actually been recording this properly. That's so annoying. I guess I at least get the picture from the screenshots. But yeah, 2 out of 3 done. You want me to take an egg from where? All the things I'll do for anima bark. The public chat on Forestry Worlds is obviously a cesspit most of the time, but sometimes it's great. And about me.
But if you entity hide, you won't be able to spy on Prifchunk.
Prifchunk? Nice, a niche micro-celebrity.
I think micro-celebrity is overselling it.
Hyper-niche nano-celebrity.
Hyper niche nano celebrity. I've been riding the high of this interaction ever since. Maybe consider subscribing, and I can work my way towards becoming a hyper niche micro celebrity.
Stop chatting, start editing.
Yes, sir, Mr. The Nuts. At the start of this episode, I made some big claims about how good this rune axe is, but I think it's time to justify that with some maths. The rune axe is 17% more likely to cut a log than the adamant axe, which roughly translate to 6 hours of cutting trees with an adamant axe is 5 hours with a rune axe. So, the roughly 50,000 U-logs I need to go from 65 to 87 fletching would take 300 hours with an adamant axe and only 250 with a rune axe. Already saving me 50 hours for just part of the fletching grind. It's going to take another 14,000 teak logs to get to 65, and somehow I need to source around 84,000 mahogany planks to train construction. So this axe is going to be my best friend. And I got so carried away with forestry that I went past 80 woodcutting, all the way to 85 before I remembered that I had a woodcutting chunk task at level 75. So, time to go and cut some magic logs. And chunk task complete. But I'm actually going to need quite a few more than just the one. To complete the forestry collection log, I need 140 magic logs for a few buyable items. So now is a good time to grind for them and go get as many of the items as I can. This random event marks a pretty big moment. Put the lamp into herblore, of course, and it looks like I've made good progress for herblore, but most of that is the Song of the Elves rewards. The exciting thing is, I have my first green log for random events. Not most people's first green log, but this and the gauntlet are the only 2 I'm expecting for a very long time, and it feels like a nice bit of progress, even if it's mostly meaningless. So far, I've not done a particularly good job of keeping up with my forestry log. As you can see, I've got 2 whistles, a petal garland, and some sturdy beehive parts, but there are 11 things in total from this log that I can get my hands on, I believe. So, let's go through them and just tick them all off now, and we'll be all done, except for the pheasant egg, because I'm not getting very lucky on that. And we are going to make a pheasant hat, and pheasant legs, and pheasant feet, and a pheasant cape. So now we can look like a pheasant for some reason. This is something that we wanted. And then, oh yeah, getting all those. Then we need to buy a cape pouch and the lumberjack hat and the lumberjack legs. And that is everything I can do for now. Other than the golden pheasant egg, everything else requires types of logs that I don't have here. So once I get oak trees, for example, I'm going to have to come back with 500 and buy a felling axe handle. Probably some other things too. And I totally forgot that I also wanted to sell the Friendly Forester my extra pheasant tails and beehive parts and see how much anima bark I can get from them. Absolutely no reason not to swap the left clicks, but here we are. And nice. Another 7,000 bark. Let's use that on the forestry kit and see what the total is. 90,000 bark in total, 6,000 sawmill vouchers. So I'll probably need around 7 times that many to get the full 84,000 planks that I need for construction. As you can see in my inventory, I've only cut around 9,000 yew logs so far, so I think there's a good chance that I will have a sawmill voucher for every plank that I make. And that's all I have for this episode. One huge upgrade in the form of a rune axe, a massive dent in the smithing grind, and a crazy amount of collection logs. But not even one of them is useful. And when this video is 3 hours old, I'm going to be going live on my Twitch channel, Clubs RS, for some Prifchunk Live. I'm starting off with a big account milestone, and then I'm going to wrangle together some viewers and head back into Zalcano. Links in the description if you don't mind some mild spoilers. Thank you for watching. If you want more, check out my playlist for the prequel series or for everything I've done since I got here. And a big thank you to my members. Surya Melody, Diggy Dog SP, Onobo, Ryan Quarter, Titas, Ivo the 2ST, Mysil, Kai, Raidboy4, and DI.